Hi, everybody. It is Tuesday, and it's almost May. Friday, it will be May. Hi, everybody. It is Tuesday, and it is a couple minutes after 1, and in a few days, it will be May. It'll actually be May 1st. Today, we're reading chapters 13 and 14. Hope everybody's having a good day. And you may have noticed in the newsletter that we're starting something new on Fridays. Instead of reading, this Friday, May 1st, we're going to start having lunch together. So you'll get a Zoom link that you can use every Friday, and we'll post it all the time. So in case you lose it, you won't have to search for it. And I'll be providing pizza to a few lucky people. There's an entry form if you want to try and get a free pizza, and you can win more than once. So look in the groups, in the fan groups, for the entry form, and you'll see a graphic with pizza and the troll. And I'm giving away a few, so there's a very good chance you could win. And then we can all have pizza together at 1 o'clock Central Time on Friday on Zoom. So that way too, you'll be able to be seen and talk as well. So it'll be more of a group thing. Since I can't come to you for lunch, we'll just come together. So today we're going to read chapters 13 and 14. Hello, Grace. Hello, Diane. And hi, Mike. And Nancy, if you make it today, that's great. But let's get started with chapter 13. And great, of course, Lois Lane is right behind me. Raven had trudged the entire way home, reliving the declaration and fuming over everyone's reaction. She had walked past her grandfather, who seemed distracted, and thrown herself onto her bed, staring at the ceiling. Eventually, she fell asleep, dreaming of flying high over the ground in the warmth of a dragon's face so close to hers. The next morning, Raven got up with the light, and after she had fed the goats, she loaded up the jugs of milk onto the wain. The celebration already seemed like a distant memory, even if the sting was still there. She clapped her hands as the sound echoed across the open ranch. "Let's go, Deacon, delivery time." Deacon emerged from a shed a few hundred yards away, slapping his hands on his pants to shake off the dust from the newly processed polygrass. He adjusted the wide-brimmed hat on his head and walked across the ranch to the wagon, an amused smirk on his face. "A little anxious this morning?" She ignored the verbal poke, hoping he didn't hear about her lack of a declaration, and hoisted 2 more jugs onto the cart. "I've got a lot to do today. Actually, I have a lot to do most days now. No time for me to wait around. As long as the sun is up, I've got to be working. And if we don't move it, I'll be late to school." Deacon walked around the wagon and greeted Presley, rubbing the length of her long snout and making kissing noises at the mare. "Hello, Presley. Ready to go for a walk?" "You know, Raven, I'm a hard-working man myself, but you're moving like we're being chased. Something wrong?" Raven placed the last jug on the wagon, not looking up at him. "Nope. Just have to get a move on. Not enough, not enough hours in the day." She jumped into the wagon and sat on the bench, gripping the reins of the horse. "There never are." Deacon groaned as he climbed in beside her. "These old bones. I know you're eager, but give me those. You're not driving." He tugged the reins out of her hands and directed Presley to begin walking. Heavy gray clouds hung overhead. Deacon squinted up at them. "That breeze is a little cool and moving fast. Wouldn't surprise me if we got a bit of rain today." He clicked his tongue. "We need it too. Makes working a little harder, but it sure helps the pastures get a little greener." Raven crossed her arms over her chest and glanced up at the sky. "I sure hope not. We need the rain, but that's going to put off a lot of work today." She tapped her foot on the hardwood underneath her. Deacon looked over at her, watching her face as she stared straight ahead. "You sure you're all right?" "I'm fine. I have some work to do for school. I don't know how long it's going to take, so the sooner we can get this done, the sooner I can finish the rest of my chores and get to it." "You Academy folks are all the same." He let out a slight chuckle. "When I was a kid, I hung out with my cousin Bishop. Fun kid. We ran all over the place, even roughhousing on the wall. Just idiot boy stuff. One of my best friends. Then he started at Fowler and he quit spending time with me." Raven gave him a puzzled look. "Did he think he was too good for you or something?" "Naw." Deacon gently tugged on the reins in his left hand, steering Presley away from the side of the road. "Just got busy." They have a way of taking over your life at Fowler. He paused. Not saying it's a bad thing. Just don't forget about the rest of your life, you know? Can't spend your whole time focusing on work that you forget to live. He elbowed her. Your grandpa told me about your shoulder. Yeah? What did he tell you? She glanced over, trying to hide her surprise. I could say I figured out that spell. That might work. Deacon opened his mouth in a gap-toothed smile. You don't know what happened to your own shoulder? Raven shook her head. No, it's not that. I just know sometimes facts get messed up when you tell somebody. He said it was just a flesh wound. The ointment did its job. He squinted just slightly, tapping the side of his nose. Yeah, I was surprised too. She tried to sound convincing. That cream works miracles sometimes. The entrance to the town of Brighton grew larger in the distance while they bounced along the path. I won't argue that. I got attacked by a mean old possum when I was a teen. My mama worked fast, cleaning out the gash and getting that cream in there. Hurt so bad, I almost cussed in front of her, which would have led to pain that not even blue wart cream could fix. He let out a loud laugh, rocking his head back. Weird that you thought it was worse than just a flesh wound. Remember? You told me the arrow dug in your shoulder, said your healing spell wouldn't fix it. Raven glanced down at her hands, avoiding eye contact while she tapped her fingers in her lap. It sure felt like that. Those flesh wounds can fool you. It happens. Deacon stared straight ahead. Yeah, it happens. Presley is really staying on course today. I'm impressed. I gave her a fistful of oats before we left. Wanted to fill her up so that she wouldn't be distracted. He cocked an eyebrow, leaning over to give her a sidelong glance. Okay, I hope you didn't give her too much. An overfed horse is not something you want to be riding behind for long periods of time. Hey, can I ask you a question before we get to town? What's that? Last time we made deliveries, she said haltingly, we were talking about using magic all the time. You said something about it leading to darkness. You remember that? He inhaled sharply through his nose. Yeah. She paused to give him a chance to say more, but he didn't take the bait. And? What was the darkness? What did the magic have to do with it? Deacon gave the reins a sharp tug. Hang on. Presley made the hard right turn on the path so they could make it into the town. Everything you do has an effect on something else, little girl. Even if you're using magic to do good things that help others, you're inviting a reaction that might not be what you're looking for. There's a kind of balance that nature makes us keep. The wagon reached the edge of town, and Deacon steered Presley to the side of the road, jumping down to tie her up to a post. Raven hopped off the wagon and made her way to the back. You're an inquisitive girl, Raven. You want to learn about that stuff? Pay attention in class. I'm sure your professors know more than I do. Raven watched them closely, wondering, what more do you know? She picked up 2 jugs and walked off in the direction of the bakery, marveling how well her shoulder was working. After dropping off the milk, Raven returned to the cart. Deacon was already waiting on the bench, sitting quietly, watching the horizon. Old man Biggs was trying to get an extra jug out of me, she said. Same old song and dance, every delivery. Raven climbed up and sat down next to him as he jerked the reins and the cart lumbered forward, heading to the center of town. They reached the middle of town, which was much less populated than during their last delivery. Good. No draft going on today, muttered Deacon. What's that commotion up there? Isn't that Mary Tames? Raven pointed to the far end of the square where Mary Tames was clutching her young son Tyler in her arms. What is she doing off her ranch? Deacon steered Presley to a stop. He glanced up at the woman again, but got down, making his way to the back. Let's just keep working on these deliveries. Remember, you said you have a lot to do today, right? Uh-huh, Raven said, distracted. She stepped off the wagon, still watching Mary and the child. The boy lifted his head off her shoulder and looked around at the people who were trying to avoid talking to them both. Focus, Raven, Deacon shouted, lugging 2 jugs of milk down the street toward a cobbler's shop. She pulled 2 jugs off the cart and made her way to the Wrangler, her eyes quickly adjusting to the low light inside the tavern. Zeke looked up from behind the bar, a wet glass in his hand. Trying to get your deliveries in before the rain, huh, Raven? Lots to do today, Zeke. She nodded in the direction of the barflies. Looks like they're a little quieter today. Zeke flashed a quick smile and pulled the jugs off the worn bar. Sometimes they just need someone to shut them up. Have a good day. Stay dry. On her way out, Raven waved to the spent wizard sitting at the table in the back. They smiled at her, one of them raising his mug in a salute. A tall, wizened old man tapped the empty chair next to him, giving her a somber look. I'll work on him, she promised. She made her way around the fountain in the square, kicking a broken piece of brick. Mary and Tyler were making their way across the square from the other side. Have you seen our dog, Willie? Mary asked the Fletcher boy, whose ranch was not far from the Moss Ranch. He was carrying firewood on his back and shook his head as he kept walking. The woman's forehead wrinkled with sadness. He was a large white and brown spotted cattle dog and answers to Willie. Does anyone know anything? Her voice broke with frustration. Raven wove around the carts, passing in the road, calling out, Mrs. Fletcher, what's going on? Mary tilted her head, sighing with relief. Finally, someone that will listen. She clutched the back of Tyler's head, pulling him closer and adjusting his weight. Our cattle dog, Willie, has gone missing. He was our best dog. I'm telling you, he wouldn't run off like this. Nobody has seen a thing. And this town is not that big. Tyler lifted his head and looked at Raven with tears in his eyes. The sight broke her heart. Poor little guy. I'll keep an eye out for him. Our dogs have been known to take off after a fox, and they always turn up. Mary shook her head feverishly. Not this dog. He disappeared overnight, and he would never do that. He's a watchdog, slept in the barn. Something got him up in the middle of the night. She pointed her finger at Raven, whispering, He only does that when there are trespassers coming. Even then, he makes enough noise that my husband goes running off to take care of it. She shook her head hard. No, he wouldn't run away on his own. Somebody's gone and taken him. Raven reached up and tightened her red silky ponytail, scanning her brain for possible explanations. I know the elves have been sniffing around a lot lately. Mary closed her eyes and shook her head again. Willie could handle elves. He took down 2 at a time once. No, this wasn't elves. And there's no evidence of anything at all? He's just gone? Raven rubbed the edge of her pin. The woman sighed heavily. We found some blood splattered on the outside of the barn door. Her face grew pained. We don't know whose it is, but it has to be Willie's. Deacon appeared almost out of nowhere and tugged on Raven's arm. Come on, Raven. We have to finish our deliveries. Mary grabbed her other arm and leaned forward. Be careful. Keep a watch out. If they can take Willie, they could take you. Deacon startled, but he raised his hand to the woman and nodded. Thank you, Mary. I'm sorry about your dog. Come on, Raven. He hurried to the cart. Raven stumbled to catch up to Deacon's pace, and they climbed back onto the wagon. As it rolled down the street, Raven muttered to herself, blood spattered. Huh? Deke, what do you think happened to the woman's dog? He shrugged, paying attention to the road. It probably ran away or something. It's a dog, Raven. Stuff happens to dogs all the time. She looked over her shoulder, watching Mary and Tyler dart from person to person, peppering them with questions. But why is she so insistent someone took him? Why is she so convinced? Who knows? Maybe she didn't sleep well. Maybe she's just crazy, you know? There are plenty of those out there, too. He pulled Presley out over for the next delivery. But Raven, it's a dog, he snapped. Dogs run away. Dogs get attacked. Maybe it was a really clever elf or something else, another animal. There are a billion different explanations without getting into conspiracies here. I never said anything about a conspiracy. She felt a tickle along the back of her neck. What is it Grandpa's always saying? The most obvious answer. Deacon, what about... He gave her a cold stare and she stopped mid-sentence. Instead, she nodded silently, jumped off the cart, and grabbed 2 more jugs. The feeling the answer was right there sent a small shudder down her back. We're on to chapter 14. I just want to let you all know in case you... Hi, Mike. Hi, Emily. Hi, Diane. I wanted to let you know in case you missed me saying it and you haven't seen it posted in the groups yet. This Friday, we're going to start something new every Friday. We're going to do lunch together on Zoom. And you'll find a sign-up form if you want to, and the link we'll provide for you. And so some lucky people will also win a pizza. So I'll call it in at least an hour before to get the pizza sent to you, already paid for. So if you want to join for lunch on Friday and on Zoom, you'll be able to talk to me and with each other, and we'll see each other. And if you want a chance at winning your own pizza, go look for the sign-up form and get in on it. We're going to do it every Friday, and you can win more than once. And there's a good chance you will win because I'm going to do a few of them. Okay, so make sure you heard about that. Chapter 14. Raven walked out of the Elbert family home, pocketing the delivery fee that Wendell Elbert gave her for the milk as a rumble passed overhead. Looking up to the sky, she grimaced. Looks like we finished up just in time. Those clouds are getting dark. Across the narrow street, Presley pawed at the ground and whinnied in response to a rumble thunder, jerking the wagon forward. She darted over to the old mare and grabbed the metal rings holding the leather bit between the horse's teeth, steadying her head. Easy. It's okay. We're going to head home and get you back in the barn in just a moment. Woohoo! Deacon jogged up and leaped into the cart without breaking his stride. Let's get the hell out of here. Storms are brewing. Raven patted Presley on the side of the head. See? She hoisted herself up into the cart, barely sitting on the splintered wooden bench before Deacon tugged at the reins and Presley began trotting at a brisk pace. Geez, Deke, let me get in the cart, will you? He brushed his thinning sandy hair back away from his forehead. You're in. We gotta go. Storms spook old Presley here. If it gets too bad, we won't make it back to the ranch before she runs off the road to hide. Another thunderclap snapped, followed seconds later by lightning traveling across the sky. Presley's head jerked back, jingling the bride. Deacon gripped the reins, pressing his boots against the footboard. Almost out of town. Hang tight. The cart clunked down the road as townspeople scattered in all directions. Merchants pulled their wares back into their shops. Farmers tightened the canopies over their carts, some already starting to ripple and strain at their ties with each gust of wind. Mothers grabbed their children, tugging at their arms to take cover. Raven shook her head and raised her voice to be heard over the bustle. I'm trying to remember the last time we even had a thunderstorm in Brighton. I want to say it was a year ago, right around this time. Deacon squinted at the clouds, blinking against the sprinkling of early rain. Rain has always been pretty common, but storms are pretty rare. They hit hard at the beginning, then settle into a steady rain. Wouldn't surprise me if it rained all day. She elbowed him playfully. All that mud makes for a fun day at the ranch. He chuckled. You're not kidding. If it rains enough, you don't know what you're stepping in all day. At least you get to go to classes. Raven shivered as her skin pricked with goosebumps from the chilly drizzle. She pulled a shawl over her head, hunching her shoulders. I think we were supposed to be in the outside classroom today, but doesn't look like that's still happening. They rode along the path out of town, Presley galloping at a good clip, and both riders hanging on tightly, Raven to the bench and Deacon to the reins. The next rumble of thunder was paired with another bright flash of lightning. They both flinched, and Presley reared up, lifting her front hooves off the ground. Easy, easy. Deacon came off the bench, tugging at the reins to keep the horse under control. Maybe I can calm her down, Raven said, scanning her memory for a decent spell. No way, ma'am. He stopped and turned to her. You've got class today. I don't want you spending any of your magic out here. Isaac and I could handle this without magic, and we have for years. Just trust me. I've been leading horses longer than you've been alive. Raven rolled her eyes and smirked at him. Whatever you say, Deke. They rode along and past the dense woods that ran for miles, hoping the rain would hold off until they got back to the ranch. Crack! Spidery lightning flashed in front of them, and Presley whinnied loudly in surprise. She charged off the road into the ditch, determined to find cover under a nearby stand of trees. Raven bounced hard on the bench as the cart slipped off the road. Son of a! Shouted Deacon. When they finally came to a stop, Raven crossed her arms and looked at Deacon. Now can we try magic? Nope, I've got this. Deacon stood up, the top of his head grazing the branches of the trees they were under. Horses get skittish. I ain't done yet. He jumped off the cart, reins in hand, and walked her under the front of the horse. Come on, we're just up the road, not much farther. You can do it. Sister, trees are not your friend in a lightning storm. We gotta go. Walking backward, Deacon gently guided the horse out of the ditch. Raven shifted left and right on the bench while the wheels moved from the uneven ditch to the gravel path. Deacon continued to walk backward in front of the horse, yanking down the reins to keep Presley from overreacting to each clap of thunder. 1, 2, 3. Storm's almost overhead, said Deacon, focusing on the horse. The clouds opened up just as they walked through the wide gate of the Aubie Ranch. The sprinkle turned quickly into a downpour, and both ranchers and horse were drenched. Deacon tugged on the reins, jogging next to the horse toward the barn opposite the goat enclosure. Raven curled her fingers around the bench and the side of the wagon, watching Henry off to the left, herding the dwarf goats inside their barn. Come on, little doelings, move it, move it. Once inside the barn, Deacon tied Presley to a post and put his hands on his hips, water dripping off the end of his nose. Whew, that's some rain. He stood just inside the barn, watching the rain fall outside the door and splash into the mud puddles. Raven grabbed her ponytail and squeezed it, running her hands down the length of it and wringing out the water. She shook the excess water off her hands and hopped off the wagon, patting Presley on the head. Safe and sound now. Thanks for getting us home, Deke. Still, I could have helped. Don't use it unless you need to, right? Deacon arched his eyebrows and nodded at her. I had that one under control. The rainfall was almost deafening. Geez, I hope it lets up at least a little bit. No kidding. I've got to go. School awaits. I'm going to sprint to the house so I can change into some dry clothes. Well, I guess I'll enjoy the rainfall on my own. Thanks for the help today, Raven. Running across the ranch, Raven kept thinking of Deacon's comment. You don't know what you're stepping in. Her feet splashed in what she hoped was mud, clinging to the sides of her shoes. No time to think about it now. She leaped onto the front porch under the roof overhang and paused to catch her breath, stomping her feet to knock off the excess mud. The rain roared even harder off the metal overhead. She kicked off her shoes and stepped into the house. Connor Albee was sitting in the kitchen, watching out the window as the rain soaked his ranch. He sighed. I have a feeling today is going to be a slow one. He shook his head in disappointment. Hard to get a whole lot done when this much is coming down. No kidding. Sorry I'm getting the floor wet. Raven tried to wipe some of the dripping water with the bottom of her foot. She left a brown smear instead, her eyes widening. You're fine. Just go get changed. You can wear my old waxed overcoat on your way to class. That should keep you reasonably dry. Hurry, time is getting away from you. Raven went to her room and emerged shortly in a fresh sky blue tunic and dark brown pants. Connor pointed to the long, heavy brown coat hanging by the door. Hang on to it. It's one of my favorites. I know, you say it every time. She pulled on the coat, rolling up the sleeves till her hands poked out of the bottom as she walked back to the kitchen. What do you think? Connor looked away from the window and let out a snort of laughter. Good thing that coat is short on me, or you'd be dragging through the mud. He looked back at the rain falling down. Shame we can't spin up some spell to take care of this. All the power in the world, and we're still at nature's mercy. He smirked as he lifted a steaming mug of tea to his lips. If healing a wound could almost knock me out, I bet stopping the rain would kill us all. And then it would just rain again after we were all gone. Way to be upbeat, Grandpa. Great vision for the day. He smiled and looked down at his granddaughter, who was staring out at the rain. Maybe not my best send-off. Rain has a way of doing that to me. You look a little perplexed yourself. You okay? Raven drew the oversized coat closer. Yeah, just thinking about, what happened at the Harvest Festival and all the looks I was getting. Her grandfather let out a sigh. These things have a way of working themselves out, particularly when we get out of the way. I love you, but half the time I have no idea what you mean. He laughed, patting his chest. Put one foot in front of the other and see where it takes you. You'll figure out you're familiar. I want it to be a dragon. She turned and looked nervously at her grandfather. William, She took in a deep breath and spit out the words quickly so she couldn't take them back. William said he'd teach me to work with a dragon. She held her breath, every muscle tense, waiting for him to tell her she was just a mage in training. Same old song. Connor looked at her with a steady gaze, a look she couldn't quite place in his eyes. So much like your mother, her same fighting spirit. Raven's mouth dropped open for a moment, and she snapped it shut, amusing her grandfather. Did you think I didn't know you might notice a dragon or two at the Moss Ranch? Follow your heart, and will never lead you astray. She leaped at him, wrapping her arms around his neck, the large raincoat swallowing her up. You're the best. You're blowing my mind. Just when I think I know exactly what you're going to say. Good. Keep you on your toes. Are you nervous about going back to the Moss Ranch? Why wouldn't I be? I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. Getting to work with a dragon is a dream come true. I don't know why I feel so... Her voice trailed off. Connor Albee put his arm around Raven's shoulder and pointed through the window to a small wooden bridge that spanned a 12-foot creek cutting through the northeast corner of the ranch property. You remember when I had you build that bridge out there? Ugh. Raven groaned at the memory. Longest 4 months of my life. I wasn't allowed help from any of the ranch hands. You wouldn't even let me use any magic to pound in a nail. I learned that spell when I was 6. That's right, he nodded. And why did I do that to you? She cocked an eyebrow. I figured you just wanted to keep me busy, or I mouthed off or something. Some kind of teachable moment to get me to listen. You never really explained. I was just building a bridge in the middle of nowhere to get me to nothing. Connor let out a laugh. I provided you with materials and the hand tools to build that bridge, and then I left you to do it on your own. He kept his eyes fixed on the bridge. No matter how much sweat you spilled, I leaned on you to get you to finish the job you started. Raven shuddered at the memory, looking out at the bridge. It felt impossible. You weren't my favorite person then. Yeah, you gave yourself away when you named the newest donkey after me. Very clever way to call your old granddad an ass. A smile crept slowly across Raven's face. Didn't think you caught on to that one. Not too slow yet, but after about a month, you stopped trying to quit. Instead, you put your head down and finished it with your own 2 hands. No spells, no tricks. Do you know why? I was tired of fighting? No, because you're stubborn. Gee, thanks, Grandpa. He let out a belly laugh. I mean that in a good way. When you set your mind to something, nothing is going to stop you. Now look at that bridge again. That is some heavy-duty rain pelting that wood, and the creek is starting to rise up and push on it from below, too. That bridge ain't going nowhere. She squinted to see it in the distance through the sheets of rain coming down from the sky. Did a hell of a job, didn't I? Connor raised a finger. Yes, but you also learned something. When you finish that bridge, you learn the power of not giving up and that you have more than one way to get something done. We're back to the weapons of magic together lesson, aren't we? Now that's real magic. You instilled in yourself the ability to see something through to the end. That's why I made you build a bridge out there in the middle of nowhere. Raven folded her arms in front of her chest. This isn't building a bridge though, Grandpa. This is training a dragon. He shrugged, unimpressed. What? You're afraid it's going to be hard? That thing could kill me. He put his hands on her shoulders and looked her in the eye. You won't let that happen. I know you won't. He let go of her shoulders. Just like your mother. Fight her. Now get, child. You'd better get walking. Henry's probably getting angry waiting in the rain. Raven didn't say a word as she turned to walk out of the house. Maybe he's right. Maybe I can do this after all. She stopped under the cover of the front porch and pulled the hood of the jacket over her head, tucking her red hair inside. Holding the strap of her satchel across her chest, she stepped off the porch and jogged over to the gate, where Henry was waiting with a smile on his face. You ready? Rain soaked his bare head, plastering his thick hair to his forehead. Still, he was smiling. You get hit by lightning? What's with the goofy smile? Or did you run into Jenny? Good burn there, Albie. Come on, can't it just be a good day? You didn't bring anything to cover yourself up? Raven asked in surprise. You're going to be soaked the rest of the day. Not a good look. Nah. He waved her off as they began walking through the rain that was beginning to settle into a steady downpour. The lightning had passed, and the thunder was reduced to a distant echo. I have a plan, he said, tapping the side of his head. I'm sure somebody has a spell that can dry me off when I get there. They won't want me sitting there dripping on their nice furniture the whole day. Weirdly genius, Dirks. He nodded and tilted his head toward his right shoulder. Have you met Maxwell? Raven leaned over and looked closer at his shoulder. Squatted there was a large toad with eyes as black as ink and a shimmering green skin peppered with yellow stripes. She gently patted the toad on the head with 2 fingers. Hi, Max. Henry shot her an annoyed glance. Not Max. Maxwell. Okay. Does he normally ride on your shoulder like this? Yeah, he likes the rain. It refreshes him. We have a good thing going so far. Bella won't be the only one with a familiar by her side today. Raven scowled as she stuck her hands in the warm, dry pockets of the oversized jacket. No, I'm sure most are going to have their sidekick all ready to go, except me. She took a deep breath and shook her head, remembering the encouraging words of her grandfather. Just like my mother, she muttered. I don't have one for now. That's going to change. That is chapter 14, and tomorrow, Wednesday, will be 15 and 16. But like I said, on Friday, we're going to start doing pizza. We're going to do pizza lunches, and you can sign up to win one of the pizzas every Friday. You'll find the sign up form and all the info in the fan groups, and more than one person is going to win, so you got a good chance. And then we can Zoom on Fridays. There'll be the same link every Friday, and that way we can all talk. If I can't be there in person, at least we can be together. And I hope you all are having a good day. I'm glad you found me, Mike, even though it might have been a little tough. I raced in and didn't do all my usual typing of what this is because it was 1:02 when I got jogged out of what I was doing. But I hope you all are having a great day. I will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Keep writing me. I will write you back. And I love the pictures of your views from where you are. So if you've got a picture, send it to me. My email is martha@marthacarr.com. And Mike, eat pepperoni and pineapple. Go sign up. You got a good chance of winning. I love the same kind of pizza. I will talk to you all later.